Hi. Basically, I just got back from the cinema. This is Independence Day, one of my favourite films. Yeah, I know a lot of you think it's all dumb and cheesy, but I really don't think that. It was made in the 90s. It's a good, to me anyway, sci-fi film. It's got Jeff Goldblum in, it's got Will Smith in, it's got Bill Pullman in, and basically aliens try to take over the Earth. Maybe I saw something in it that other people don't see. Films are liked by individuals for different reasons. Independence Day I saw as this really atmospheric film with great editing between lots of different locations, pulling together a great cast of lots of different actors. I liked their acting. I think they acted pretty seriously. I think that the dialogue was pretty good. There's some beautiful music in it, really beautiful music in it by David Arnold. Some really awesome practical effects. Anyway, I went to see the sequel today, and for me it was really terrible. I'm just going to read a few of the things I've said as reactions. I saw IDR and it was terrible. Wish people would learn to write good scripts. Arg, please no. It's so saddening as I liked the original so much and I had no idea what to expect. I had no way of telling from the trailers. Jeff Goldblum was doing his quirky thing in marketing surrounding the film's release. Seeing him in those was much better to seeing what he did in the actual film. The whole thing's just a soulless, uncompelling CGI binge with hollow characters. Sad times for a fan. I went on Mark Kermode's video. He said he didn't get why there were people liking it and saying it was good, but he also didn't get why people were hating it. He just thought of the whole thing as, meh. I thought it was worse than meh, especially being a fan of the original, although I believe we're a minority. It was pretty, but it had bad acting, terrible dialogue, horrific dumb ideas. Why the aliens just returning in a bigger ship? I mean, come on, you can think outside the box, have them doing something amazingly different this time. There are a bunch of new characters that don't even matter or do anything. There was no David Arnold music, except for about 2 bits where they nick his theme just for a moment and play it out of context. It just doesn't really fit where they've put it in. I don't even know why David Arnold wasn't doing the score, because he's a big part of what made the original so good. I could write a lovely 18 rated sequel to ID4 and come up with a lot more clever scenarios than they have. It's just kind of offensive to me that they had these great sets and actors and they didn't use them for something compelling. Also, they're the same director and producer, and yet they still managed to screw up. Kind of reminds me of George Lucas and Ridley Scott. I'm talking about the Star Wars prequels and Prometheus there. It's like the directors of great sci-fi movies don't actually realise what the feeling they created in the eyes of their fans initially were, and it was all kind of an accident that they couldn't recreate because they themselves never experienced that intimate atmospheric feeling of seeing that film for the first time. What might have helped the film, aside from having a fan as a writer and David Arnold music, probably have been a higher BBFC or age rating. If I hear another yeehaw or concentrate fire or I got your back, I'm gonna drop a kitten in a meat grinder. Brothers Grimm style. Yeah, those are just some of my thoughts. Quick spin through the film. Right at the opening sequence. I mean, what was that opening sequence? There was a lot of that stupid thing people do where they get a camera that can do physically impossible things like fly through entire star systems. You have lots of moments at the start where TV screens were showing images of things that would have been impossible. We're in the point of view of the alien queen, who apparently has teeth now. I don't know why they took the original design of the aliens from Independence Day and tried to make a queen out of them, ignoring the fact that none of these aliens had mouths, and decided to make a new alien that had a giant toothy mouth. Why would it need a mouth if the others don't have mouths and if they communicate through telepathy? I don't get it. So the alien queen at the start is looking at her little TV monitor, and what she is watching is Bill Pullman from the 1996 Independence Day doing that speech he does in Independence Day, which I think they've overhyped as being an important part from the first movie. And it's as if, like, how did the alien queen get that footage? She must have had, like, one of her aliens in the crowd of fighter pilots during that moment, listening to the speech and filming it with a little alien camcorder. ugh, she shouldn't even exist. Why does she exist? You know, you've created a new kind of alien, come up with its own mythology for it. And the thing is, the original Independence Day had that mythology because they were these planet-faring locusts consuming resources and moving from planet to planet. And you get the feeling that they're this kind of, I want to say bureaucracy, because they're all the aliens you see in the Independence Days that aren't the soldiers on the ground fighting are all at desks on computers in little call centres. Like this is the kind of society they've got, and that doesn't fit when you suddenly change it to that's not the type of government that these aliens have. Now they're controlled by an alien queen. They're more like an insect hive animal. Anyway, speaking of the aliens, when they brought back the biomech suits, they just did them in CGI, and the aliens picked up guns and held them instead of using their biosuits as the weapon. They didn't allude to the fact that they mentioned in the making of Independence Day that the biomech suit is actually like a herd animal that the aliens have tamed, and they take specific members of these dumb beasts and hollow them out and turn them into biomechanical suits. I thought that was a really good idea. If I was making a sequel to Independence Day, I would have used the fact, you know, that you can put creature in these biomechanical suits and had the aliens kind of strap humans inside the biomech suits and then launch them as suicide bombers at other humans, and just have the soldiers fighting these biomech suits come to sudden realization that they'd been fighting these humans the whole time. There's so many cool things you could do, but they didn't do any of those things. They're all kind of harkening back to ideas from the original Independence Day, but redoing them and doing them worse. Like Bill Pullman's character, who was the president before, now been turned into the new Russell Case, like the drunken crazy man that no one listens to. Why are you doing that storyline again, but with a different character who wasn't even that character? Judd Hirsch is in this film as Julius Levinson, but they've written him just some really appalling dialogue, and he spends most of the movie just driving around in a school bus with a bunch of kids who aren't any characters in their own right. They don't have anything to do in the movie. Like, their parents have been killed and they're just driving a bus around aimlessly, and then they pick up Julius. Well, some of the kids pick up Julius. The main girl who's driving is just like, nah, fuck him, sacrifice him. And then the other kids go, no, we should save this guy. And she's like rolling her eyes at him like, oh, you can save the old man if you want. What was that about? Jesus. That is a callous little girl. Anyway, he doesn't have any of that hilarious bickering he has with Jeff Goldblum like he does in the original. There's none of that. They had this really infuriating thing where they had this big white ball that came from another alien race who apparently, they said, we live in virtual reality now. Like they'd decided to live in computer games and port their consciousness to computer games. And the pod they recover from their spaceship is like, it looks like an Apple product. Just this big white smooth ball just rolling around the place. Terrible. And it has like a woman's voice. The explanation for it having a woman's voice is that it's so clever it assembled the human language and decided to talk back to them. It's just the least alien thing ever, and we're meant to accept that this is like a new alien life form. Like, what? No, don't do that. When you're trying to build an alien civilization, make it as strange and different and far away from Earth's human culture as possible. Like War of the Worlds. H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds is a fantastic novel. These things are like massive, they're just brains. They can't move under Earth's gravity. They're being crushed to Earth. That's why they need the tripods to get off the ground and be mobile. They're like the size of bears. They've got like beaks, V-shaped mouths. They hoot to each other in this weird language that no human can understand. They've got compound insect eyes. You know, there are so many different ways of portraying aliens as far removed from Earth. You got the xenomorphs, you got the predators, you got everything in Farscape. There's so much diversity in that. You've got the Abyss. James Cameron's The Abyss, where the aliens are underwater living aliens. Another underwater living aliens, you've got Echo the dolphin. These aliens, to my knowledge, completely skip out on humans and ignore them and go and talk to the sea life. Read Arthur C. Clarke's short story compilations. You have creatures made of gas that float around the clouds of Jupiter. You have creatures that are really tenuous consciousness that rise up out of electronic networks, and no one can really perceive them. You have aliens that are like the monoliths in 2001: A Space Odyssey, the machines left behind by aliens, and they're self-replicating machines. I think anthropomorphizing aliens, sonifying them and giving them human traits has been kind of done to death, and we need things to be different now. We need to see things that aren't like us. Anyway, what else can I say about Independence Day 2? It's kind of very vapid and hollow. Something like Independence Day deserves a bigger canvas and deserves more creative attempts to explain the universe, and I feel like now that they've added things like the Alien Queen and these new ships, you kind of have to go back a step or go into a make your own alternate universe to even explore that anymore. This film is directed by the original filmmakers themselves, so whatever has changed in canon, and it's a shame, really. It's the same with Star Wars. It's like, there are some good things about the new films, but there's tons of good things about the previous, what we're now calling alternate universes in fiction and things that do a lot better than what the filmmakers can come up with. It's a shame that those sorts of things are lost, and that you pick a film you like from your childhood, love it so much, and you're so looking forward to the sequel for your own reasons, for the things you imagine it could be because you love the original, and then they make the sequel and it's not at all what you expected, and it takes you and everyone else who watches the film further away from the creative vision you as a fan had of the grandness of what this could have been. There were so many brilliant theories about what it could have been. I guess fan fiction in a way, and those will never exist, but in a way they should have a place, because they probably came from quite a powerful place in the minds of the fans who created them, and it's a shame we won't get to see all those other visions that aren't officially created. Anyway, Independence Day Resurgence, why did you do this to me?